few months ago, I've done one of the most stunning trips in the land where many films took place. Various authors were inspired to write, but also several clans' battles happened. Welcome to the breathtaking Highlands in Scotland. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Alejandro. I'm an engineer based in the UK, and on this channel we explore the engine that help us live a more purposeful life. So our trip was in October when we were allowed to travel. We flew to Scotland and then started a road trip. We visited mainly 5 areas. I want to save you time, so I'm leaving timestamps below. Feel free to skip and watch the one you actually care. But before starting, I need to offer my apologies to the Scottish people watching, as many of the places I'll pronounce during the video might not be in line with the Gaelic pronunciation. Inverness. Our first segment was London Heathrow to Inverness, 1 hour 45 minutes, and we came back the same way, 1 hour 35 minutes with British Airways. We arrived at Inverness Airport at around 10:35 AM. It was way too early for check-in, so we dropped our suitcases at the hotel, literally a 2-minute walk from the airport. This was our base for the first 4 nights. After that, we took a taxi to fetch our car at the rental car company. This was only 15 minutes away. Why didn't we pick it up from the airport? Well, it turned out to be £100 cheaper from the city, and the taxi was £23, so it was a winning deal. We got our car by midday and we were ready to start the road trip. It was raining a lot. In fact, it was non-stop rain for 80% of the trip. Our first stop in the Highlands was 18 miles away, 30 minutes drive, Urquhart Castle, a 500-year-old castle literally by the Loch Ness. We thought it was a castle that we could take few photos on the way and leave, but the entrance was £9 per person with free parking. You know, can't complain too much if we didn't do our homework properly, can we? The castle was located in an incredible green area and it was absolutely beautiful regardless of the miserable weather. The next thing for us was to drive 23 miles or 40 minutes to have lunch at a village called Doris. We had a little walk along the Loch Ness beach and then had some tasty lunch in a local pub. Okay, fine, ready for the next stop. We drove 37 miles or 50 minutes to a town called Aviemore. Apparently there was a stone circle worth seeing. Unfortunately, it was not super exciting as it was only a bunch of stones on the side of a residential estate. To see stones, honestly, you'd better visit Stonehenge. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure there was some history there, but such a long drive only for that, I personally think it's not worth. We saw the city centre and train station, which was like travelling back 100 years. Indeed, worth visiting that train station if you are not too far away. We didn't have enough time to squeeze in the national park, unfortunately. It was dark and quite cold already. So, time to go back to the hotel, around 36 miles or 45 minutes drive, to finally check in, have dinner and get some rest. That was an intense first day. The following day we had breakfast and headed to the next place. Let's talk about Glenfinnan. This was 88 miles or 2 hours 15 minutes drive. We arrived at the Glenfinnan Viaduct, a location that became famous mainly because of the Harry Potter films. This was a 21-arched viaduct overlooking Loch Shiel and the Jacobite Monument. There were multiple viewpoints to take stunning photos as well as a beautiful trail. We spent here probably a good 3 hours as we didn't rush and tried to enjoy as much as possible. Fort William. Right after Glenfinnan we wanted to go to Ben Nevis. The intermediate stop was Fort William, around 17 miles or 30 minutes drive. We stopped at the old fort, site of a former fortress. Not much left to see there, but still some nice views across the loch. I wouldn't say this is a must, but it can be an interesting stop to get some coffee and stretch our legs a bit. After this we were on our way to Ben Nevis, the highest peak in the UK. Something we wanted to see after our trip to Snowdonia, the second highest peak. On the way we stopped by at the Braveheart Village, one of the locations of the iconic film with Mel Gibson. We kept driving and went all the way to the Glen Nevis car park, one of the most amazing driving experiences on earth, as you're truly in nature all the way. From there it was around 1.2 miles or 35 minutes hike to this waterfall, the Scotland's second highest waterfall with a drop of 120 meters. In fact, this took longer because of some uneven, rocky, wet and slippery areas as well as steep paths. Luckily we had proper hiking boots, but still we got to be careful. In my case I was with a 30 liters backpack with all my camera gear, trying to be extra careful at every step. I have to say that I was a bit upset as the weather was really terrible and didn't allow us to enjoy as much as we were hoping. On the other hand, as we got closer to this waterfall, it was all worth. We went there around 4 p.m. and came back by sunset. No doubts that we took unbelievable photos, but the drive back was already very dark and, to be honest, not enjoyable with such a low visibility, heavy rain and curvy roads. Next time we go, we'll definitely do it much earlier. We drove back to Inverness, our base. This was around 80 miles or 2 hours and 15 minutes drive. A bit longer due to the night drive and heavy rain. The first leg of our trip was done already on that first weekend. That means some towns and villages close to Inverness in addition to Glenfinnan and Fort William area. So we had another 2 days in Inverness before heading to Kyle. So the following day we went to Culloden battlefield, the site of the 1746 bloody battle of the Jacobite Rising. The rain was very intense, but after that weekend our mindset was ready to face it. Kyle. It was Wednesday 5 p.m. and it was time to head to the next place. So we checked out from our hotel in Inverness and drove to Balmacara. This was around 84 miles or 2 hours drive. Funny enough, we were running out of petrol and struggled to find a petrol station on the way. We checked in at the hotel and picked up the car to find a petrol station. The first one we tried, it was 8 miles away in Kyle, but closed. We tried another one 12 miles away in Broadford area and it was like seeing an oasis. Full tank and ready for the next day. The lesson here is not to be overconfident with our tank. Next time we'll make sure we check petrol stations everywhere we go, as in some areas in the Highlands it's not so simple to find one. We only stayed for a couple of nights here, but truly just 1 day seeing stuff. The highlight here was the Alien Dornan Castle, just 5 miles away, 6 minutes from our hotel in Dorney. You probably saw on my Instagram some impressive photos, but in case you didn't, this is a small island where 3 lakes meet. It's a truly charming castle. Alright, so the next big thing was coming, Isle of Skye, a place known for its stunning landscapes, villages and castles. It's hard to mention every place we visited, as we drove a lot here. I can say that our first point was the Store, a 700-meter tall rocky hill on the north of Skye. This was 50 miles away, 1 hour 50-minute drive. Before arriving at the Store, we had a stop in Portree. We knew another big trail was coming, so we needed some fuel, coffee and bagel. Full stomach, happy heart, all set for the Store. We parked somewhere close and started hiking uphill. It was steep and extremely muddy. Our boots were literally dark brown. Certain segments were just about walking on 15-20 centimeters mud. It was a constant climb. The positive side was that the old man of Store was not covered in mist, so we could face it. The rain stopped for a few minutes, so I quickly took out my camera and shot some photos. On the way back to our parking area, we found out a yellow plastic on the car's windshield. Gosh, bad news. We had a fine waiting for us, £60. Apparently we parked in the yellow lines. We went online and paid the same day £30, I think. The discounted price if we paid within 2 weeks. The next stop in the Highlands was Kilt Rock and Milt Falls, a panoramic view of waterfalls, cliffs and sea. This was a quick intermediate stop as we wanted to go to the Currain, and the Currain, another big trail just 13 miles away, 25 minutes north. This time we made sure there was a proper car park and we paid for it. This trail was a loop returning to the same point and covering around 4.3 miles or 7 kilometers. It was a medium length and in theory it was a hard difficulty. Although for me the tour was much more challenging, to be honest. Perhaps because it was raining all the time and in the cue rain the sun decided to show up. That makes a big difference. From the very beginning we could tell this was a special walk. Outstanding views pretty much everywhere. As we progressed uphill, we were very close to the cliff edge and some significant drops, so needed to pay attention to take the right steps. Because it was a bit sunny, everything looked easier. There was time still for the final spot, which was 9 miles away or 30 minutes in the amazing highlands. It was called the Fairy Glen, a very old landslide full of stories and sensational area. There was one particular point called Castle Ewan where we took some epic photos. We were exhausted at that point after hiking in all those places, to be honest. So we headed back and checked in at the hotel. This was around 20 miles or 35 minutes drive. It was a beautiful bed and breakfast in Portree. In fact, it was so safe that the owner said that never lock the door. We parked the car and grabbed some takeaway dinner in town, just 5 minutes walk, as a new regulation took place that day where restaurants to sit in needed to close at 6 p.m. We ate our food at the bed and breakfast, showered and rested. Next stop in the highlands was Fairy Pools, 20 miles away or 30 minutes drive in Glen Brittle area. A bunch of waterfalls, blue and green, coming from the Cullean Mountains. The walk was around 1.5 miles or 2.4 kilometers. The water was indeed crystal clear and the land was full of autumn colors. It felt like a different planet in certain moments. We spent a couple of hours there and after that we headed to the famous and iconic Talisker Distillery, only 4 miles away or 15 minutes. But just before, we had a quick coffee in this place here, which was sensational. This was the best coffee we tried in the whole Isle of Skye so far. They get the beans from a place in Edinburgh, but they roast it locally. Everything was perfect at that place for us. So we enjoyed our coffee with some stunning views and the rainbow as well. The next place in our Highlands journey was going to be Lighthouse. This was 30 miles away or 1 hour drive and the most westerly part of the Skye. This was an iconic lighthouse built a century ago on a rocky cliff overlooking the causeway and the coast, and we parked and went downhill to the lighthouse. As pretty much everywhere we found tons of sheep on the way. As we were approaching the sunset in the beautiful highlands, we drove to Dunvegan Castle. This was around 13 miles away or 34 minutes. The castle was closed, but we drove a mile or so extra to a nice viewpoint. And that was it for the day, friends. We arrived at our bed and breakfast, had an organic beer in town, and then grabbed some healthy pizzas. Saturday arrived and we started to feel physically tired, so we decided to do a local trail called Scory Break. But before we went for coffee, and actually the best coffee in town. I say it was as good as the one we tried in the village of Carbost. After that we walked 30 minutes to the trail starting point and from there 1.7 miles or 3 kilometers, and it was very refreshing with some stunning views. As always, really felt local. We were both running out of energy and thought it was time to drive back to Inverness with one very last stop at the Red Cullen viewpoint, still on the Isle of Skye. Finally, driving back 122 miles, around 3 hours to Inverness for the last night before flying home. Our Highlands trip was coming to an end. It was time to say goodbye